Heartwarming twist, poor girl discovers hidden evidence to prove CEO's innocence. Incredible transformation ahead. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that fate had something incredible in store for her. The local diner buzzed with life, the aroma of freshly baked pies wrapping around her like a warm blanket. But beneath the cheerful chatter of Maplewood, her heart pounded with the weight of her family's struggles. Her father, once a proud soldier, now bore the wounds of service both seen and unseen, and the financial pressures from mounting bills threatened to crush their small family spirit. As Clara mopped the diner's floors during another busy shift, she'd really listen to the townspeople whispering about Mr. Thompson. How could he betray us, they said, incredulity thick in their voices. He'd been the pillar of their community, the one who provided jobs, hope, and a sense of belonging. And yet, accusations of embezzlement clouded his reputation. The warmth of Maplewood felt so close, yet so out of reach. That day, Clara's life shifted. On bended knees, scrubbing a forgotten corner of the diner, her fingers brushed against something dusty. An old folder? Curiosity piqued, she flipped it open, and her breath hitched. Page after page revealed financial documents that hinted at deeper truths. This wasn't an embezzlement case, it was something far larger, a plot woven through the town's fabric that risked tearing everything apart. She could feel the anger bubbling inside her. How could they turn on such a good man so easily? Clara imagined the faces of her neighbors, their kindness cloaked in the shadow of betrayal. With reckless determination, she decided she had to find the truth. But the fear clutched at her chest. What if she failed? What if the tight-knit community turned against her for daring to challenge the status quo? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara sought guidance from her mother, who had weathered so many storms of her own. You've always had such courage, Clara, she said, her eyes reflecting both worry and pride. The elders of Maplewood shared stories too, anecdotes of resilience that reminded Clara how community could empower. Their words became fuel, and she dove deeper into her investigation, uncovering more pieces of a puzzle. Each revelation ignited flames of hope and defiance within her. The town began to rally, whispers turned into conversations, and conversations into plans. It was as if the air in Maplewood had shifted. Together, she and her friends sought justice for Mr. Thompson, unveiling truths the town desperately needed to hear. But just when victory seemed to loom close, an anonymous warning caught her off guard. The note practically screamed at her to stay silent. Clara's heart raced. The weight of her choice settled heavily. Would she keep her head down and protect her family, or stand tall against the looming tide of secrecy and deceit? The fragile support of her community rested on her next move. The choice hung like clouds over Maplewood, dark and heavy, longing for the spark of revolutionary hope. The morning sun shone brightly over Maplewood, but Clara felt a chill creep into her bones. The warning had shaken her to her core. Who had sent it? And why did it feel like the walls were closing in? As she looked out of the diner's windows, she could see her friends gathering outside, their faces a mix of determination and fear. She knew they were all in this together, but doubt clung to her like a shadow. Clara. Amy called, waving her over. We've been talking about what to do next. We can't let this slide. Clara approached, her heart pounding. She could feel the weight of their expectations and the dread of potential failure crashing over her. Do we go to the papers? Lucas suggested, his brow furrowed in thought. If the whole town finds out, maybe they'll see how wrong they are about Mr. Thompson. But what if it backfires? Clara's voice trembled. We could become targets. Is it worth risking everything? A tense silence fell upon them. She could see the conflict mirrored in their eyes, the desire for justice battling against the instinct for self-preservation. Just then, a familiar face appeared in the diner doorway. It was Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Thompson's wife, her eyes clouded with worry. Clara's heart sank further. Mrs. Thompson looked older than she remembered, as if the weight of the world rested squarely on her shoulders. "Clara, dear," she said softly, making her way inside. "I hope you don't mind, but I heard from a friend that you've been looking into what is happening with my husband. I wanted to ask if you found anything." Clara hesitated. This wasn't just any Mrs. Thompson, this was a woman who had given so much to the community. She felt an ache of compassion in her chest. "I have some documents," Clara admitted, feeling the gravity of honesty pulling her deeper into the storm. "But I'm scared for you and for everyone. What if we're wrong?" The older woman placed a hand on Clara's arm, her grip firm but gentle. "My dear, we've been wronged. But hiding doesn't solve anything. You have a brave heart. If you believe in your cause, that matters more than any fear." The words ignited something in Clara, a flicker of hope. Mrs. Thompson's courage was infectious, lifting the weight she'd been carrying. Her friends nodded, determination dawning on their faces. Together, they could uncover the truth that had begun to rip their community apart. "Let us do this," Clara declared, a newfound fire in her voice. "Let us gather everyone and share what we've found. We owe it to Mr. Thompson and to ourselves." As they set their plan in motion, the feeling in the diner shifted. What had once been a place of worry transformed into a hub of resolve. Clara's heart raced with excitement, vulnerability, and determination. She sensed this was only the beginning, the undercurrents of the town were shifting. But just as adrenaline coursed through her veins, that nagging thought returned: what about the threats? Could they face the powers that were lurking in the shadows? She caught a glimpse of the paper with the warning, tucked away in her back pocket, its silent menace a constant reminder of the stakes. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow as they strategized in the diner. That evening, heroes could rise, but was the town ready for the storm that was about to break? As the first whispers of revolution began to swirl around Maplewood, Clara heard a soft click from across the room. A camera lens glinted in the light. Someone was watching. Who had turned against them, and what did they want? The answer would change everything, and Clara knew she was on the brink of something drastic. Clara's heart raced as she turned, scanning the diner for the source of the metallic click. The buzz of her friends filled with plans and hope faded into an unsettling background hum. She felt exposed, vulnerable as she locked eyes with a stranger sitting in a booth at the far end. A man, perhaps in his 30s, had a camera pointed discreetly in their direction. His eyes narrowed, and a slight smirk crept across his lips. "Clara, what's wrong?" Amy asked, noticing the shift in her demeanor. Clara tried to shake it off, offering a forced smile. I think someone is watching us." "Who? Where?" Lucas leaned toward the window, trying to catch a glimpse of the intruder. The man quickly lowered the camera and turned his gaze back to the table, as if trying to blend into the diner's warm, worn atmosphere. "We can't let anyone intimidate us," Clara said, trying to steady her voice. "We need to move. If they're watching, we cannot go through with the plan here." Nods of agreement scattered among her friends. Military precision took over as they gathered their things, eyeing the intruder suspiciously without being obvious. The way his focus flickered back to the camera, it felt like a knife against the thin fabric of their resolve. With quiet urgency, they slipped out of the diner, the door jingling softly behind them. Outside, the sun dipped lower, splashing hues of gold and crimson over the town square. The familiar sight suddenly felt foreign, tinged with unease. Clara caught sight of Mrs. Thompson through the window, her expression haunted, as if she sensed the storm brewing inside and outside her family. "Let's south head to the park," Clara suggested, her voice steadying as they moved. "We can meet there and decide what to do." The old oak trees and open space would offer the privacy they desperately needed without exposing them to prying eyes or more flashes of secretive cameras. As they gathered in a quiet corner of Maplewood Park, Clara felt a sense of freedom wash over them. The rustling leaves in the evening breeze whispered tales of bravery. It was just what they needed, a break from the tense atmosphere of the diner. "I think I've figured out who that guy was," Lucas whispered, his brow furrowed. "He's a reporter from out of town. Someone told him about our little investigation." "Great. Just what we need," Amy muttered, frustration knitting her brows together. "Now we're on their radar." But Clara felt an unexpected thrill at Lucas's remark. "Then we need to beat him to the punch. We have to gather all our evidence and get it out before he spins it his way. What if he's here for something else?" Amy's voice dropped to a near whisper, fear creeping back into her tone. "What if he's here to silence us?" Clara's heart pounded. "That's why we can't panic. We have to be smart. But we have to act fast." As they went over their findings, those carefully collected documents and statements, Clara felt a compelling sense of urgency. There was something about the reckoning that was right in front of them, the truth desperately wanting to break through. But as Clara pulled a folder from her bag, she froze. A photograph slipped out, one she hadn't seen before. The image was small and creased, but her breath hitched as she recognized the shape in it, Mr. Thompson, standing beside someone. Someone who looked familiar. "Clara? What is it?" Lucas peered closer, the tension palpable in the air. "I don't know," she breathed, her fingers trembling. "But if we dig deeper, we might find what we need. And it could change everything." As the shadows darkened around them, the moon slowly climbed the sky, illuminating questions that begged for answers. Who was that man next to Mr. Thompson? And how was he connected to the growing threat in Maplewood? Clara felt a deep knot in her stomach. They were moving closer to the truth, but the path felt more precarious than ever. Now more than ever, their next move felt critical. The answers would bring clarity, but also danger. Could Clara keep her friends safe while unraveling the mystery? The night was falling, and with it came the feeling that the real challenges were only just getting started. The chill of the night air surrounded Clara and her friends as they huddled beneath the sprawling branches of the old oak. The tension hung thick, weighing down the very atmosphere they shared. Clara's heart thudded in her chest as she held the photograph between her clammy fingers, her mind racing through the possibilities. Lucas leaned in, the lines of worry etched deep on his forehead. "Clara, you have to tell us what you're thinking." This could be linked to everything," she replied, her voice wavering slightly. "If we can find out who that man is, it might lead us to the truth about the Thompsons. What if he's involved in whatever they're hiding?" Amy's voice was barely above a whisper, filled with dread. "What if it puts us all in danger?" Clara felt the weight of those words. What if all their efforts were pushing them closer to a treacherous edge? She glanced at her friends' faces and realized how frightened they were. They trusted her. In that moment, something shifted within her. "Listen," Clara said, breathing in deeply. "What we're doing is important. We're fighting for the truth, and we owe it to ourselves and to everyone else in Maplewood. We can't back down now." Amy's expression softened. "You're right. We came this far, but we should be careful. Whatever this is, we don't know how deep it goes." Clara nodded, resolve bubbling to the surface. "Let's split up and dig deeper over the next few days. I'll look into Mr. Thompson's connections. Lucas, I need you to check the town records. There might be something on that guy in the photo, maybe a history or business dealings. And I'll talk to some folks in town, see if I can learn anything about Mr. Thompson," Amy added, her determination lighting up her eyes. They agreed to meet back at the park in a few days. As they made their way out of Maplewood Park, Clara felt a flicker of hope. This was their chance to take control of the narrative. They were no longer just victims of circumstance, they had the potential to become the architects of their own fate. The next day stretched out before Clara like a blank canvas. She started her investigation through the dusty files in the town hall, searching for hints about the man in the photograph. Hours rolled by as she combed through pages, an uncomfortable knot tightening in her stomach with each dead end. Finally, she stumbled upon an old newspaper clipping, its edges yellowed and fraying. It detailed an article about a charity event hosted by Mr. Thompson years ago, highlighting a partnership with a businessman named Daniel Reed. Her heart raced, the name felt familiar, but why? Suddenly, a voice interrupted her thoughts. Looking for something? A man, tall and stocky with a gruff voice, stood in front of her. Clara recoiled instinctively. No, just checking records for a project, she stammered, her heart leaping into her throat. The man's eyes narrowed, studying her closely. You alone? It's late to be digging around here, especially with the Thompsons stirring things up. Clara's instincts screamed for her to leave, but curiosity got the better of her. Do you know them? He shrugged, a hint of recognition flickering in his expression. Everyone knows the Thompsons. Just be careful, kid. This town can hold secrets that muffle your voice before you even whisper. As he turned to leave, Clara's mind raced with questions but also alarm. She needed to move fast, the danger was closer than she thought. With more urgency than ever, Clara gathered her things and headed home, knowing she had to warn the others. There was something lurking in the shadows of Maplewood, and she was determined to shine a light on it. As she fished her phone out of her pocket, ready to call Lucas, she glanced one more time at the newspaper clipping. That name Daniel Reed echoed in her mind. How was he tied to all this? Her fingers tingled as she typed a quick message, heart pounding with anticipation for the next steps. But a sudden tap at the window nearly made her drop her phone. She turned abruptly, gasping as she faced a figure cloaked in darkness. Outside. What did they want? Would they be friend or foe in her quest for the truth? Clara took a step back, her pulse racing as the face came into view. It was someone she never expected to see. Clara's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped closer, revealing the familiar features of her older brother, Ethan. Relief washed over her, mixing with annoyance. Ethan. You scared me half to death. What are you doing here? He asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I was just. She hesitated, uncertain of how much to reveal. I'm investigating something. I thought I saw something important. Ethan leaned in closer, glancing over his shoulder into the dimly lit room. You shouldn't be here alone, Clara. Not with everything going on. There was a protective tone in his voice that tugged at her heart. I know, but I can't stop now. The Thompsons, there's something really off about them, she said, her voice low and urgent. I need to find out the truth. His eyes softened for a moment. All right, I'll help you. Just tell me what you found. Clara quickly recounted her discoveries, the newspaper clipping about Mr. Thompson, and how the name Daniel Reed kept echoing in her head. Ethan listened carefully, nodding as she spoke. Daniel Reed. I think I've heard that name before, too, he said slowly. He used to run a company that went under years ago. It was a big deal back then. Why do you think he is connected? I found a photo of him with Mr. Thompson, she explained. It could mean something, or it could put us in danger. The more we dig, the more trouble we might find, Ethan warned. But if there's truth to uncover, we can't just ignore it. They decided to head back to the files, but Clara felt a flutter of unease. There was so much at stake, and the shadows seemed to deepen as they moved. Together, they pored over old records and materials, digging deeper into the past of both men. Time slipped away, and the atmosphere grew heavier with each document that hinted at more than just business partnerships. Then, Clara spotted something strange, a ledger book tucked in the back of a drawer. She pulled it out, brushing off the dust. The cover read Thompson and Reed Financials. What is this? Ethan leaned over her shoulder, a hint of excitement in his voice. As they flipped through the pages, Clara's heart raced. These transactions, it looks like there are payments made to different people, and they're not small amounts. Could this be what they're hiding? Ethan wondered aloud. Clara nodded, emboldened. It could be tied to the charity event. They might have been concealing something worse all along, using funds to cover whatever it is. Just then, they heard the unmistakable creak of footsteps approaching the office. Clara's heart dropped. They weren't the only ones in the building. Quick! Hide! She whispered, her adrenaline spiking. They slipped behind a large bookshelf, holding their breath as the door swung open. A figure entered, a man, older and with a sharp suit, someone Clara had seen before, but she couldn't place him. "What are you doing here?" The man asked loudly, his voice filled with authority. He glanced around, scanning the room as if sensing their presence. "I know someone's here." Clara's eyes widened. Panic set in, and she pulled Ethan closer, urging him to stay silent. They could be discovered at any moment. What if he found them? Would the truth slip through their fingers again? Everything felt like a ticking time bomb, each second stretching into eternity. "Who is he?" whispered Ethan, his voice barely more than a breath. "I don't know, but we have to stay quiet," Clara replied, fear coursing through her veins. Just as the man walked closer, a loud crash echoed from somewhere in the hall, followed by muffled voices. The man stiffened and spun around, glancing toward the sound. Clara seized the moment. "This way!" she hissed, pulling Ethan along as they slipped out the door, hearts pounding. Yet as they dashed down the hallway, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What if the truth they sought was dangerous enough to put them all in jeopardy? And as they reached the front exit, a new dread washed over her. What if they weren't the only ones searching for the truth? What new threats would they face in their untangling chase for answers? Clara and Ethan sprinted down the dimly lit corridor, the sound of their hurried footsteps echoed against the cold concrete walls. They could still hear the muffled voices coming from the direction of the crash, and their hearts raced in sync with their pace. Clara's mind was a swirling mess of thoughts. Who was that man? What had he stumbled upon? Once outside, the chill of the night air hit them, sharp and crisp. Clara paused to catch her breath, and Ethan grasped her arm, concern etched on his face. "What now? We can't go back." Clara looked around, searching for some kind of safe haven. "The cafe on the corner. They know us there. We can figure out our next step." She gestured confidently, though anxiety gnawed at her stomach. They both bolted toward the cafe, hoping that the mundane neon lights would shatter the heaviness that clung to them. They pushed through the door, and the warm glow enveloped them like a blanket. A few regulars were scattered throughout, sipping coffee and engaged in quiet chats, completely unaware of the tension in Clara's chest. Clara inhaled deeply, soaking in the familiar scent of roasted beans and fresh pastries. Ethan led them to a booth in the back, still keeping his voice low. "What do you think that guy wanted?" Clara still felt shaken. "I don't know, but he's clearly tied to the Thompsons. The last thing we need is to be caught snooping around." They sat in silence for a minute, both absorbing the gravity of what they had nearly walked into. Ethan studied her for a moment, then leaned in. "You've got to be careful, Clara. We're not just playing detective here." "I know, but the Thompsons are hiding something. I can feel it." Clara's voice trembled with determination. "And Daniel Reed. There's a connection there, I just know it. What if we're wrong?" Ethan's voice was full of unease. "What if we make it worse?" Clara's gaze hardened. "If we walk away now, we'll never find out. I can't look back and wonder if I could have done something." Ethan hesitated, then sighed deeply, a mix of frustration and acceptance. "Okay, but we need a plan. What's our next move?" As Clara sat back, recounting everything she had seen so far, clarity began to break through the chaos. They needed to connect the pieces, not just for their sake, but for the people who could be affected by whatever the Thompsons were hiding. Remember that charity event? Clara leaned forward. What if we contacted some of the donors? Maybe they have their suspicions. If we can get them to share what they know. Ethan nodded slowly, a glimmer of hope igniting in his eyes. That could work. Who do you have in mind? Mrs. McAllister, the florist. She always seemed tight with the Thompsons. And there's Mr. Kern, the lawyer. He mentioned something offhand about some dealings. I think he might have more to say. Just as ideas blossomed between them, the cafe door swung open. The entrance bell jingled, and Clara's stomach dropped as she recognized the tall figure stepping in, Mr. Thompson himself, his expression dark and searching. Ethan, look, Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. What do we do? Before they could think of escaping or hiding, Mr. Thompson's gaze zeroed in on their booth. Time stopped for what felt like a heartbeat. Would they face him with what they knew? Or would they slip away in the shadows again, letting fear dictate their actions? Clara's heart raced as the moment stretched on, waiting for fate to make its move in the fray. As Mr. Thompson approached, the question loomed over them: was this the confrontation they had been waiting for, or the end of their quest? Clara's breath caught in her throat as Mr. Thompson closed the distance between them. The crowd in the cafe faded into a dull hum, and it felt as though only the two of them existed in that moment. His sharp features were shadowed by the dim light, but the determination in his stride was unmistakable. What a surprise to find you here, he said, his voice smooth but laced with an edge. He glanced at Ethan, then back at Clara. I must say, your curiosity is quite troublesome. Ethan tensed beside her, a protective energy radiating off him. Clara felt torn between flight and fight, every instinct screaming at her to run. Yet, deep down, she felt the weight of this moment pressing on her. If they backed down now, it would only deepen the shadows around the Thompsons. Mr. Thompson, Clara managed, her voice steadier than she felt. We were just what? He interrupted, stepping closer, an unsettling smile curling on his lips. Stumbling into something that doesn't concern you? I recommend you tread carefully. The patrons around them continued sipping their coffee, blissfully unaware of the tension hanging in the air. Clara could feel their eyes darting briefly, sensing that something important was happening. But she didn't want to give in to intimidation. We're concerned about the charity and what it stands for. People deserve to know what's really going on. His brows arched in surprise, but it quickly hardened. You think you know what's best for everyone? You're digging into matters that are above your head, Clara. She could see it in his eyes. He was unyielding. But Clara knew they had to push back. She leaned in, channeling the spirit of defiance. We've seen enough to understand there's more here. You can't just dismiss us. We will find the truth. His smile faded, replaced by a cold gaze that chilled her to the bone. I wouldn't recommend pursuing this any further. You have no idea who you're messing with. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, last warning. With that, he turned on his heel and strode out of the cafe, leaving Clara feeling both exhilarated and terrified. The door swung shut with a thud that echoed her racing heart. Ethan's hand found hers, squeezing it tightly. You were incredible, he said, though his voice quivered slightly with concern. But did you see how I know, Clara interrupted, still trying to process what had just happened. But we can't back down now, Ethan. The stakes are too high. Suddenly, the cafe's atmosphere felt suffocating. She needed to act quickly. Let us meet Mrs. McAllister tomorrow. If she's tight with the Thompsons, she could be hiding something. Ethan nodded, his brow furrowed with worry but determination sparked in his eyes. I'll call her first thing in the morning. We'll figure this out together. Just then, Clara's phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out to see a message from an unknown number. It was short, cryptic, and her heart raced even faster as she read it. I know about the Thompsons. Meet me at the old church at midnight. Clara shared a quick glance with Ethan, an electric surge of fear and intrigue coursing through her veins. Was this a trap? Or was it a chance to dig deeper into the shadows that surrounded the Thompsons? We have to go, Clara said, determination setting her jaw. They were in too deep to back off now, and she wouldn't let fear dictate their destiny. As they left the cafe, the night enveloped them again, darker and thicker than before. The hunt for the truth had begun, but little did they know that the revelations awaiting them would not just alter everything they thought they knew but change their lives forever. The clock was ticking, and midnight was only hours away. Would this be the key to unlocking the secrets they sought, or would it only lead them deeper into danger? The streets were eerily quiet as Clara and Ethan made their way towards the old church, each footstep echoing off the cobblestones. Clara's heart raced, and the weight of uncertainty pressed down harder with every step. She fidgeted with her phone, the ominous message replaying in her mind. Who was waiting for them? And more urgently, what did they know? Are you sure about this? Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper, his concern palpable. The shadows wrapped around them like a fog, but Clara could see the determination in his eyes. It mirrored her own. I have to know, she replied, her voice stronger than she felt. If this person has information about the Thompsons, we can't let fear hold us back. As they rounded the corner, the church loomed ahead. Its tall steeple reached for the night sky, a stark silhouette against the moon. Clara remembered the stories her grandmother told about the place. It had once been filled with hope and laughter, but now it felt haunted. The massive doors creaked ominously as they pushed them open, the scent of aged wood and dust filling the air. Inside, the dim light flickered from a few scattered candles, casting soft, wavering shadows on the stone walls. Clara squinted, her heart pounding in response to the nervous energy in her gut. Hello. She called out, her voice echoing through the empty space. Silence fell over them, thick and heavy. For a moment, Clara thought about turning back. A small voice in her mind warned her that maybe this was a mistake. But a flash of the cold gaze from Mr. Thompson steeled her resolve. They were already here and she wouldn't back down now. Do you think they're even here? Ethan asked, glancing around. His mouth was a tight line, fear and concern battling each other on his face. Just as Clara opened her mouth to respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. An older woman stepped forward, her face partially hidden under a hood. You came, she said, her tone a mix of relief and urgency. Who are you? Clara asked, stepping closer, trying to make out the woman's features. I'm someone who knows the Thompsons better than most, the woman replied, revealing sharp blue eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. My name is Evelyn. And I have information that can change everything. Clara and Ethan exchanged glances, adrenaline coursing through their veins. What kind of information? Ethan questioned, taking a cautious step forward. Evelyn hesitated, casting a quick glance around as if ensuring they were truly alone. There's a document that was hidden. It proves what the Thompsons have been doing, and it links them to something far more sinister than you could imagine. Clara felt a mixture of hope and dread. We need to see it. Where is it? Evelyn stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. It's hidden inside a safe in their estate. But I warn you, retrieving it will be dangerous. The Thompsons will do anything to keep their secrets buried. Clara's heart raced as the gravity of the situation settled upon her. The danger was real, and the stakes were higher than they imagined. We can handle it, Clara asserted, her determination solidifying. Then, Evelyn's next word sent chills down her spine. But it won't just be the Thompsons you'll have to worry about, there are others involved, much darker forces. They'll stop at nothing. Ethan took her hand tightly, as they prepared to face the uncertain future. Clara felt their hearts beat as one, both terrified and exhilarated. They were stepping into a web of darkness, fueled by hope and the possibility of the truth. But what lay ahead? Would they uncover the evidence to change everything, or would they awaken a danger they couldn't escape? As Evelyn turned to lead them further into the shadowy depths of the church, Clara couldn't shake the nagging question: who else would protect the secrets of the Thompsons, and at what cost? Evelyn led them down a narrow corridor, past rows of weathered pews that seemed to hold the secrets of the church within the creases of their wooden planks. Clara followed closely, her heart thumping like a drum, each beat reminding her of the risk involved. Ethan stayed by her side, his grip firm around her hand, a silent promise of support. "Keep your voices low," Evelyn instructed, glancing back with a gaze that suggested they were not entirely safe. "People in this town are loyal to the Thompsons. They will protect their interests at any cost." Clara nodded, her mind racing. Just how deep did the Thompsons' influence go? She recalled the unease that settled across town whenever the family was mentioned. It was as if they cast a shadow, both feared and respected. If they truly were involved in something sinister, what chance did she and Ethan have against them? Evelyn stopped in front of a door, its surface marked with age and neglect. "This leads to the basement. That's where the safe is located." She gestured toward the door, a heavy feeling in her stomach weighing her down. "But once we go in, there's no turning back." Clara exchanged glances with Ethan. Fear flickered in his eyes, but there was also a spark of determination. "We have to do this," she whispered, breathing deeply. As Evelyn pushed the door open, a creaking sound echoed in the stillness, sending a wave of apprehension through Clara. The basement was dimly lit, the few bulbs that hung from the ceiling casting a sickly yellow glow over the rows of old crates and dusty relics from a forgotten past. "Stay close," Evelyn warned, moving carefully down the stairs. The air grew cooler, and Clara could feel a shiver run down her spine. The unknown lay ahead, thick with tension, as if the basement itself was holding its breath. "Where's the safe?" Clara asked, scanning the space. Shadows danced along the walls, and the atmosphere felt charged with unseen eyes watching them. Evelyn paused, turning to point at a corner near the back. "Behind that wall of crates. It's a concealed door, but be careful. The Thompsons probably have security measures in place." "Security?" Ethan echoed, his voice rising a notch. "Like what?" Evelyn hesitated. "Let's just say, they value their secrets highly." Clara felt a knot in her stomach tighten. What kind of guards were waiting? Her thoughts spiraled momentarily into a dark haze. They were risking everything for answers. Together, they carefully passed the crates and found the section of wall Evelyn had indicated. She touched a spot, revealing the outline of a hidden door. This was the moment. Clara's heart raced, a mix of anticipation and dread coursed through her. "Here goes nothing," she murmured, pushing the door open. The interior revealed a small room, slightly damp with the scent of metal and stone. At its center stood a strong safe, its surface gleaming ominously in the weak light. Clara approached it, her pulse quickening. This could be it. The evidence that could shatter the Thompsons' facade. "Can you get it open?" Ethan asked, scanning the room suspiciously. Clara examined the safe's intricate locking mechanism. "I don't know, but we can try." Suddenly, a noise reverberated from outside the basement, the sound of footsteps echoing in alarm. Clara's heart dropped. They weren't alone. Panic surged through her as she realized they only had moments before they were discovered. "Evelyn, we need to move now." Clara's urgency filled the room, a sudden spark igniting the catalyst of their fear. As they dove into action, a chilling thought struck Clara: would they make it out in time to uncover the truth? Or would they become unwitting victims caught in a dangerous game, just pawns in the Thompsons' ruthless plan? Clara and Ethan frantically worked the safe's lock. What awaited them inside could change their lives forever, but would they even have the chance to find out? The footsteps outside grew louder, a crescendo of urgency sending Clara's heart racing. "We have to hurry," she urged, her voice a frantic whisper. She focused on the twisting dials of the safe, trying different combinations. Ethan glanced over his shoulder, worry etched across his face. "They're coming. We won't have time if you don't get it open now." Clara closed her eyes for a split second, blocking out the noise, centering herself in that moment. The world outside faded, her fingers danced over the dial, remembering the patterns. "This is it," she whispered, gripping hope tightly. Click. The safe's mechanism gave way, a sound like thunder in the stillness of the basement. It swung open slowly, revealing a trove of documents, photos, and a small USB drive. "Grab what you can," Clara shouted, shoving papers and envelopes into her bag without looking fully into them yet. The scent of dusty paper filled the air, igniting a spark of adrenaline. Ethan grabbed the USB, eyes wide with both fear and excitement. "We'll figure it out later." Then he hesitated, listening intently. "Clara, now." He pointed desperately toward the stairs. The door was pushed open just as they slipped out, revealing the figure of a tall man in dark clothing, the stranger from the cafe. "What are you doing here?" he boomed, eyes narrowing at them, a predatory glint shining through the dim light. "Run!" Clara screamed, adrenaline surging through her. They bolted past him, hearts hammering wildly as they raced toward the exit. They burst outside into the night, breathless and panic-stricken. The cool air slapped their faces, fueling their flight. "Where do we go?" Ethan gasped, glancing backward. The man was pursuing them, his footsteps relentless. "Home!" Clara shouted, leading him down a familiar path toward Maplewood's quieter streets. She could feel the shadows closing in behind them, but her legs carried her forward with purpose. Each step felt raw, the ground beneath them a blur. As they turned the corner to their neighborhood, Clara's mind raced through everything they had uncovered, unwilling to allow fear to dictate their path. They had pieces of a puzzle that could reshape their town's future, their future. Once they reached the safety of their home, Clara dove through the kitchen door, Ethan close on her heels. Breathing heavily, they locked the door and slid down against it. "Did we lose him?" Clara panted, pressing her ear against the door. "I think so," Ethan replied, relief washing over his features even as his breath quickened. With trembling hands, Clara pulled out the documents and the USB from her bag. "This could change everything, but we need to know what we have." Her heart raced at the thrill of uncovering what lay within. "Let's check the computer," he said, urgency returning. They hurried to the living room, firing up the old desktop. Clara plugged in the USB, her palms sweaty with anticipation. Files appeared, one labeled Thompson and Reed Operation. Her stomach churned with anxiety. Tension wrapped around them as they dug through the files, reading about fraudulent charity events, misappropriated funds, and collusion with dark corporate entities. The truth flooded over them, and tears escaped Clara's eyes. They used the charity to cover up their illegal dealings, keeping their secrets safe, Ethan whispered, his voice thick with disbelief. "This could take down the Thompsons, but it puts us at risk too." Clara wiped her tears away, consumed with purpose. "We can't hide this any longer. We have to present it to the community. They need to know who they're really supporting." Ethan hesitated. "But what if they come after us? What if they're powerful enough to silence us?" "Then we stand together," Clara said firmly, feeling the fire of determination build within her. "We believe in each other, and we believe in what is right." She thought of the community, the people she had grown up with, and knew they deserved better. They would not go quiet. They spent the next few hours gathering their findings, creating a presentation that shuffled through all the evidence, ready to shine a light on the darkness. Finally, as dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, they were ready. Clara looked at Ethan, their eyes connecting in an unspoken promise. "This is our moment," she declared, her voice quivering with fierce resolve. "We'll call a town meeting," Ethan agreed. "If people see the truth, they'll have to respond." We can't stand by when lives and homes are at stake. As day broke over Maplewood, the sun rising behind them symbolized a new beginning, a glimmer of hope shining against a tide of darkness, all lit by the courage they had found in each other. The following day, with their hearts pounding, they stood before the townspeople at the community center. Whispers filled the room, eyes turned toward them, curiosity mingled with apprehension. Clara stepped forward, holding the documents high. "We need to talk about the Thompsons," she began, voice steady and strong. "About the truth. What we found could change everything we believe," and as she revealed their findings, she saw the flicker of realization spread through the crowd, the shadows of doubt beginning to lift. One by one, faces of confusion transformed into expressions of indignation, and, finally, empowerment. Maplewood was ready for change. Clara felt her spirit soar, and with every word, her courage blossomed. This was the start of a revolution. They would not be silenced or swept under the rug. The destiny of their town was in their hands now. And they would fight for it, armed with truth and hope, determined not to let fear dictate their future. Clara smiled. This was only the beginning of their transformation, a phoenix rising from the ashes of deception. As the townspeople's murmurs grew louder, Clara knew that courage lived in the hearts of those who chose to rise together. Now more than ever, they needed to support each other in the face of adversity, and in that moment of triumph, one thought echoed through her mind: it was time to reclaim their town, their lives, and their voices. This was their moment. And you, dear reader, are invited to join this journey. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button and be part of the next incredible stories that inspire. This is the moment to show your support. Our journey needs you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because together, we can make a difference. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending, and let's connect as a community. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The power is in our hands. Let us lift each other higher.